feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the
Call
Cowboys.
this college rule.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. Just a couple of comics talking sports. And today, we're talking a bit of a weird one, but I feel like it's appropriate.
Third skateboarding episode. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're talking Bam Margera.
Oh, yeah. Bam
who
Margera.
I feel like might be known less for skateboarding and more for off-field antics, if
Other
you will.
things outside of the skate park.
Yes.
But Bam Margera. Brandon Cole Margera, actually.
Yeah, real name, Brandon Cole.
Yeah, born September 28th, 1979 in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Where, I mean, he lives pretty much for the rest of his life is kind of what we're seeing is like all of this stuff happens in that little area where he's from.
Yeah, it'd always be weird watching him doing those stunts and being like, they're always in PA.
Yeah.
But Mom April and Dad Phil. Phil will come back into play later. And an older brother, Jess. Yeah. Who's
Older brother Jess.
musician.
Yeah. Drummer in a band that will come back later. I saw his uncle, Don Vito, actually gave him the name Bam Bam, and then it just got shortened to Bam, and that's where he got that.
He was always my sister and I's favorite character on that TV show until the unpleasantness took place.
Oh, I'm sure. But I mean, that's one of those things where you can just see that coming. I hate to say it, but you're just
Yeah,
like,
I know. You're
yeah,
just like, oh, that makes so much sense.
he's the definition of a creepy uncle.
Yeah,
so,
right.
like,
he's the drunk uncle, not the acid uncle, as I always say.
Oh,
in my,
man.
stand-up.
You want the acid
Yeah,
uncle.
the acid
damn
uncle
it.
like me is fun.
Yeah.
Like, let's just say that. But
I feel like you're more of a shrooms uncle, but that's
a
all
little
right.
bit.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
they cross over
They
sometimes.
cross. Oh, man, there's so
But they're
much
always
crossover.
positive, you know? But anyway, nicknamed him Bam Bam because he would run into walls.
Yep.
I think that's pretty funny. Went to Westchester High School, but did not graduate.
Well, let me say this. So he started skating like many of us do, middle school in that era, and then it started to get a little bit more serious. When he was like 14, he actually got into the 411 magazine.
Which is awesome.
It's just one of those magazines that used to have amateurs, you know what I mean, like come in and they would show these, just like, maybe this kid will be something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was one of those things where if you're an amateur, you get your photo in one of these mags, you're like, that's like, it puts so much motivation under you.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what I
the
feel
motivation to be signed by one of the skating companies and, you know, be sponsored for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we see him drop out of high school, but still obviously is still into skateboarding, but he actually said he dropped out because we'll talk about this later with his crew, but like they all dropped out and he was like, yeah, that was the only reason why I was going was to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
And I think it was Chris Rabbit who dropped out. He was just like, that
Rabbit
was it.
himself. Yeah. Yeah. He got expelled.
He got expelled. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which I mean,
Yeah, why not?
I mean, you see him.
Yeah.
So he comes through the skateboarding world. He starts coming up. This is something that I feel like was not beneficial to him, is he was more of like a park skater, which was not popular in that time. So he could do vert and he could do street and he could kind of mix it. But there wasn't really park, events back then.
Yeah.
And that's what we see. So he gets signed to Toy Machine and he rides for Toy Machine in 98, 99. Mm-hmm. And then in 99, Land Speed, I believe, is his wheels. And Land Speed puts out this thing called Land Speed Presents CKY.
Yeah, which is really cool.
So, and this is where we see pretty much Bam become Bam.
Yeah, I mean, like as the world knows him.
Yes.
Not like just the skating world knows him, but like the aggregate world.
So CKY, they named it after, there was a band that his brother was in.
Yeah.
And
Camp Kill Yourself.
Camp Kill Yourself. And they wanted it to be like this, almost like this collective. And that's why it was so many of those dudes just like doing these videos. And this is what people were saying, because some skate videos are just like all skateboarding.
Yeah.
Some skate videos are like skating, other stuff, skating, other stuff. And what they figured out right away was they're really good at the other stuff.
Yeah, all the stunts.
All the
that are
silliness,
fun and cheeky,
bringing them into like their world, all of that. Because sometimes it's really stupid and boring, and sometimes you're like, oh, these guys are fun. And because so like the first CKY, it really wasn't a big. thing.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, it was kind of like niche almost.
It was
Like,
100%.
something nobody had seen before.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was 100% niche, and then we see CKY 2K come out,
Yeah.
and that's when it kind of starts to get bigger. And they end up, which is kind of silly, they end up going to like Iceland, and they have all this. This is when they start putting in music.
Yeah,
So they
like
put
his brother's music.
Yes.
And his brother's band's music.
They
yeah.
put CKY in there, and then they also put Rammstein and Bjork in, and it's very much like
good.
because they have skate videos that do that. They put music over guys skating,
Yeah.
and they never like make it big enough to where the musicians kind of like can even like notice it, if that makes sense.
Like benefit from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like, and that's what happened with this CKY 2K is it actually had traction, and like Rammstein and Bjork was like, hey, can you take our music off of that? Which doesn't normally happen with skating videos.
Yeah.
And that's when we see, this is like the start of Jackass.
Yeah, like because in these videos, along with Bam, are like Ryan Dunn and Brandon DiCamillo, Ray Keon, Rab himself, Chris Rab, and then Brandon Novak, who is a childhood friend of his, also a skateboarder.
And this is the CKY crew that we see come out of. This is literally all from Westchester. I feel like they're all PA guys.
Yeah, they are.
And
they all knew each other. Probably grew up together.
Yes, exactly.
And that was the time when Big Brother, the skateboarding magazine, Jeff Tremaine, who's all like the top guy of Jackass, pretty much.
Well, this is interesting because he was always the director. So you probably will never see Jeff Tremaine and like recognize him, but he's the director, and he was like behind this magazine called Big Brother, which was like a pretty out there crazy magazine that Larry Flynn from Hustler actually produced.
Oh,
And
God.
He actually said because it never made money, but he wanted to make it because it was like free speech. So they had this thing one time in Big Brother. It was like 7 ways to kill yourself. Like that was the kind of shit that they were doing.
Larry Flynn is
And-
right. You guys suck.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they said. They did it for like a year, and then they saw it going down, and like they were like, he was like, hey, I can't have this keep going. You're not making any money whatsoever. And it was like a skateboarding magazine, and they heard about these guys who were doing this video shit that was pretty crazy. Spike Jones, who actually comes in and kind of like puts this together where it's like these guys from PA and these guys from California, and it kind of makes this thing because they
It was
were
like a perfect meld almost.
Yeah.
Like when it first came out, like when I was in middle school, I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it's hilarious and I like it.
I thought it was interesting. They actually shopped it to Comedy Central and MTV, and Comedy Central denied it, saying like that's not what we're into. And MTV was so quick to pick it up. They were just like, yes. And then the final piece of the puzzle is they went to Florida and they picked up Steve-O.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing with the Jackass crew is just like, no, we didn't know Steve-O. He was just some clown. And I say clown in the actual
legit.
term.
Sad clown.
Sad clown from Florida. They go pick him up.
Yeah, I remember him doing like stilt stuff and thinking like a lot of the weird stuff that he does is like almost clown related, which is horrifying but funny at the same time.
Well, he went to clown college.
Exactly.
So
clown
Bam,
college, you can't eat that. Simpsons reference, I'm sorry.
Do it every time. So Bam, during this, they're still making CKY. So they make CKY 3, but as that's coming out, these people that they're using the music are suing them to stop using the music.
Yeah.
CKY 3, probably the most famous scene is Mike Vallely beating the shit out of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
For calling them a really bad term.
Yes, we won't say it.
So they're dealing with Mike and the CKY production team getting sued because of this. So I guess the original release had all of their faces and like had like they were like, my name's Jason and like shit like that. And they're like had to go back in and cut all that out. So like they're dealing with all of this, but as all this is happening, Jackass is like about to start going on MTV, and you see a ton of clips from CKY 3 and 4 and the first season of Jackass.
Yeah, they basically melded all together.
Yes.
Yeah, and it made for hilarious television.
No, it was perfect. And that's the thing, is people were saying like this was the perfect time, like it was for this to come out, because I don't know if it would be the cultural phenomenon it was a decade before or a decade after.
Yeah, and it came out kind of pretty much the year before 9/11, where everyone was just kind of done with the 90s. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's see something we haven't seen before. And it was like the perfect window for it to happen.
And it really piggybacked off of the Tom Green
Yeah.
show. And that's what they were saying was like, that's what they were doing because like
I
you
miss
see,
that MTV so much. Oh my
well,
God.
you see it was like a lot of just like independent DIY video stuff that they were like, no, we're doing it. We're going to put it out for our fans. And then MTV saw this potential and was just like, no, this is going to be one of the biggest shows. And it really was.
That's when I loved the era. I loved MTV was like the 90s for the music, and then during this era where they had shows, but they were like weird offbeat shows.
Yep.
Like Tom Green, Andy Dick, Jackass. Like I would watch MTV every day just to see those things.
I know it's a different. It was a different vibe back
Yeah.
then. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, and we'll talk about skating, and then we'll get into Jackass and what happens with that. So
Sounds good.
In 2000, right when kind of all this is happening, he ends up signing for Element.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those like videos that it kind of defines this 2001 skateboarding thing. It's called Elementality.
Oh yeah,
and
I've heard of that.
he is just absolutely fantastic in it. And it has like some younger guys who come through. It has like Appleyard and guys like this. And you see him do a lot of like kind of like park style stuff that is like popular in 2015.
Yeah.
And he, for me, has probably one of the best backside tail slides ever on a vert ramp. Like it is just
sweet.
so clean. And this is when he starts skating with Tony Hawk all the time.
Yeah, because he was in all his video games.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about the money they made off of that, off the video games here in a second. But he was talking, Tony Hawk said something that I thought was really great because we see Bam kind of go through these different personality changes almost.
Let's call him that.
Yeah, 2000, 2001, Tony was just like, he was the absolute best to skate with. It was always the best time. We were always just having like the time of our lives, and that kind of spirals out of control.
As we see down the road.
And well, this is what we see with Jackass kind of becoming bigger and bigger. So Jackass only goes for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Which some people think it's a lot more, but it really is not that much.
No, they just made so many episodes in those 3 seasons.
Well,
yeah.
And there's a reason for it that it kind of got cut off. So MTV, when they have these little shows that coming up that they're not quite sure if they're going to do it, they have them sign these like minimal contracts.
Yeah.
And that's what Jackass was signed to, was like, because it's SAG and all of that, they were like literally paying them like the minimum by law.
Oh my God.
And that's what MTV does, because what MTV has to offer is they have the notoriety.
Yeah, they have the brand name.
They have the
and
brand
they have
name.
the platform that you need to get onto.
Exactly. So they're giving you exposure, which is so fucking stupid to say nowadays, but
Right.
it was actually true
This is pre-Facebook.
in that era where it was just like MTV could pay you $10,000 an episode for like 15 guys.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm just saying that's why you see at the end of season 3, all the guys from CKY actually aren't even there. They ended up stopping it because they went and started Viva La Bam. And the
Yeah.
other guys from Jackass were like, yeah, no, we get that.
Well, and then like Pontius and Steve-O did Wild Boys. Like they were all doing kind of their independent stuff.
I was going to say, everybody broke off because they knew the deals were there. And then the guys like Tremaine and Knoxville, who were like really behind Jackass, were like, yeah, we're going to do a movie.
And which is
that's
great.
where the money is.
And it was.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
That's the thing why people were like, man, Jackass, the show should have went on. And it was just like, no, it needed to stop so they could all do all of this other shit. And
Yeah.
it really, yeah.
Like it branched out, and when you're not getting paid what you're actually worth, like why are you going to keep making seasons anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was something else. They were making so much money off of other shit. So I want to point this out. This is when Tony Hawk's game is blowing up. 2 and 3, and this is in this era. If you were one of the skaters, you actually got a cut of the. So that you would get a giant check every single year.
That's amazing.
When Tony Hawk like Wasteland came out, it was like one of those later games. The company finally realized like, oh, we can just give them a one-time check for like 20 grand, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm a skateboarder.
No, you got to Bobby Bonilla it.
Yeah, no, and that's what Tony originally had set up for all these guys. So if you see any of these guys in these games, they were making ridiculous amounts of money just off of that.
That's amazing.
And then that's why Bam was just like, yeah, no, we'll do Jackass for nothing. Like, I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
And then this is something that I always thought was so silly about him was he wasn't skateboarding a ton at that time. Like, well, he was skateboarding a ton, but he wasn't like looked at as a top skater.
Yeah.
He was looked at as like a personality.
See, and that's the weird part. Like, you see like a fork in the road for him. It's like, had I just gone with Tony Hawk, everyone would know me as a professional skateboarder. But going the Jackass and MTV route, it's like it almost, people forget about that.
And he said he had huge problems with MTV because they would have all this skating footage and they wouldn't know which ones to put in.
Yeah.
So like they would just put like the first one that he landed in and he would be like, no, that's sketchy as fuck. I wanted that one. Like there was all this problems because they didn't understand skateboarding and like he felt like they were like trying to get skateboarding pushed out of his show. And during this time, he's still a member of Element Skate Team. Mm-hmm. And he made this band from, I believe they are from like Norway or Denmark called Him.
Yeah. I think they're Norwegian.
Yeah. He made them like super huge, being like, this is my band. And his skateboard was like the Him they had like the,
I remember that.
It was like a pentagram, but it had like a heart. It was called the Heartogram. And his Element skateboard was selling
it was super popular.
Much. It was like dwarfing all other sales combined. Like it was selling so much, and this is what people were saying was it was selling to people who weren't skating. So it was selling to like girls who were hanging it on their wall.
Yeah.
So there's still a ton of them around, unlike other kind of skateboards.
Oh yeah, because they're not like broken or overused or whatever.
And this is what the big thing about the exposure that MTV actually gave him was he made money on everything else.
Which, in retrospect, is probably not the greatest thing to happen to somebody like Bam.
No, because he has a complete addictive personality. So
welcome to my world.
Yeah. All right, so we get into Jackass the movie. So Viva La Bam, I want to say this too, had a budget of $300,000 a week.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at those episodes where they're just destroying shit, he was just like, dude, we were just trying to rack up a bill because they're like, yeah, do it. He was like, one time we were like, yeah, there's an elephant we could rent in the next town, and they're like, okay. He's like, okay. Just to put it in perspective compared to what Jackass was to what, you know.
Yeah. I mean, well, at that point, Jackass was so popular because the movie had come out, though, right?
This is right when the movie starts to come out, and we see what is this brand that they kind of pretty much made. You know, Jeff Tremaine's the director. It comes out 2002, and they make $79 million worldwide,
which is crazy to think what even the budget for that was. Like, they were probably making money hand over fist.
I think the budget was under 10.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah. And he's still skateboarding during this whole time.
Yeah.
He's still this is the era in which he actually is really good at skating, and his drug and alcohol abuse isn't catching up with him yet.
No, I mean, he's young, and he's probably not in that full-on addict mode. It's more like, well, I have to do this, I have to do this. He's like being kept busy, and from what I've seen, much like myself, boredom is when the drinking starts.
Well, and I kind of alluded to this pre-podcasts. We'll bring it up later because he ends up suing the guys from Jackass.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how before Jackass, he never drank. Mm-hmm. And the reason why he would go and drink was because he would get all like hurt, and then they'd be like, oh, we got to shoot the next day. And the other thing was he was addicted to Adderall, is what he said.
Which is just a lethal combination as far as screwing your life up.
Well, he said it was the schedule, and that's why he you know, ended up suing them, and that's what really tanked his skateboarding and all this stuff. So like, I was talking about it with you, where it's like kind of like a NFL player. It was just like, all right, I'm gonna pop these pills.
Kyle Turley?
Yeah. I'm gonna get my rest. I'm gonna go out. I know I can't deal with light right now. Don't turn on a light. That's the kind of the way he felt like this Jackass process was, because they were like really fucking hurting themselves. Obviously.
Oh yeah, I mean, what do you think the warning at the beginning of the video was? Like,
Johnny Knoxville got brain damage on the new one.
Yeah,
so
it's why when I used to shoot Jackass videos with my friends, I was the naked guy or the make people uncomfortable guy.
I was gonna say that's the smartest guy to be.
Yeah, that's the smartest guy to be. You're not beating your body up. You're just making people go, Wow, that's a penis.
Yeah. Maybe the poop on command guy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's different roles for different guys.
Exactly.
Jackass 2 comes out 2006.
Funny movie also.
Another great one. This is the thing about these movies is they really are just like almost timestamps of like what it was to be 19 in this era.
Exactly, yeah.
84 million worldwide. I think the budget was like 15 million. It's crazy what they did with. There's almost like home movies, but they really like ramped it up at this time.
Yeah, it's like their home movies only with like a Hollywood production value.
Exactly.
Which makes you, like, as far as making money, very good decision. Very good decision.
Yeah. So Jackass 3D then comes out 2010, 170 million worldwide. They said they had no idea because the first two did great.
Yeah.
Especially with how much they made compared to how much they spent. But like they're saying Jackass 3 did so much better than anything they could imagine. And I remember somebody saying like, can you remember another 3D movie in the last 25 years other than Avatar?
Right.
And somebody said it was just like, yeah, even that, the first one I think of is Jackass 3D.
Yeah.
Because like, I remember being in the theater
Same here.
and then like throwing shit and you just being like, whoa, all right. Like it is one of those experiences that you just like remember.
No, I mean, and it's still fun to watch even on your own TV.
Yep.
Like, yeah, just cheeky and fun things.
All right. To get back into Bam and his descent into madness, I would say.
That's actually a really good way of putting it, Chris.
So June 20th, 2011, his best friend,
Ryan Dunn.
CKY guy, they pretty much grew up together, died in a drunk driving accident. And people are saying this is where, because he was always like drinking and doing drugs and partying, and this is where it was like, oh, it's like a non-stop thing.
Yeah, it's more like not a once in a while thing. This is an everyday routine thing. And that's tough to get out of.
Oh, yeah. And we see because he starts flirting with rehabs, but he always like
he's
stays
like gone after like 4 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
He always stays like a week in something like that. And the thing that I hate to say it, but when addicts, they say this a lot. They're just like, I'm going to get clean myself. And you're just like, nah, that's not. I mean, maybe you can get clean, but the thing that's always struggling is staying clean, I think. Yeah. So
either you have to go to rehab or you have to teach yourself how to be sober-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only way you can, really the only two ways you can do it. Like,
I believe in 2018, he got busted for drunk driving.
Yeah, third time actually.
Which
arrest.
I want to say how absolutely ridiculous this is when your best friend dies of drunk driving and then you proceed to do it. Almost like...
But you know what? That's an addiction thing.
Yeah.
That's a routine thing. That's one of those
I think
things
it's,
where you've stopped caring. You've stopped looking at the big picture. You know, that's kind of what I believe when I had read that.
I agree.
Third time, especially in 2018. This isn't 2001. You could easily hire a driver with all of the money that you've made.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what you tell is sad, is almost like he's like wanting help but can't ever get it kind of thing.
Yeah, like he's trying to... It's almost like a cry for help. It's almost like he's asking like, I got another DUI, help me, but send to rehab for like the third time, you know?
So in 2020, they decide to do a Jackass Forever.
Yeah.
And they get all the guys back together and they say that, and this is the thing, is all the guys from Jackass are pretty much sober now, especially the ones that had hard drug problems.
Steve-O is one, yeah.
Pontius.
Yeah.
These guys are like sober now. And they said when Bam showed up and he was obviously completely addicted to drugs, it was hard to be around. And then it became impossible to be around. So much so that they ended up kicking him off of set. And I don't know if anybody wants to go through his Instagram posts.
Oh my
but
God,
it is,
dude. It is clusterfuck. That's the only way to put it.
It's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, this is like one of like my friends that turned to meth, and you're like, who is this person? Like, It is really sad. Jeff Tremaine ends up putting a restraining order against him.
He was making threats towards Tremaine's family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely just like incoherent things. And this is what I alluded to earlier. He ends up suing Tremaine, the production,
Knoxville too.
Knoxville, MTV, and he said that he got him like addicted to Adderall and alcohol. And before Jackass came around, he never drank, which is true. If you look at those CKY days, it was all skating and crazy shit.
Yeah, and probably maybe a little weed mixed in. But what are you going to do as a late teenager?
But that was the thing. Actually, he actually said he never liked weed. Partying, it was more like mushrooms or like ecstasy kind of thing.
Interesting.
Back in that day. And then you could see as soon as alcohol came in, he just like couldn't deny it.
That's why alcohol is the cruelest mistress, because you can go into anywhere and order it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have a guy for that other stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I think my favorite joke about that was somebody was just like, yeah, can you imagine being addicted to food? You need it to survive. All right. But this is the thing is, so they kick him off of Jackass. Supposedly, this is what we're about to release is he is in some of the scenes because he did get sober, and I believe the movie like literally just came out.
yeah, like I think this weekend.
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, because Clint said he went and saw it.
Yeah. Check out Clint's episode, Malice in the Palace. He's one of our good friends.
That too, yeah. But yeah, what a crazy I mean, he was arrested. I remember reading in Iceland because he wrecked a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Yep.
Like everything just kind of spiraled almost out of control after his friend's death. It seems like that was like the starting point of every crazy thing for him.
And you can tell like the lack of skating. So
he said he had to relearn how to skate.
Yeah,
because he got like too fat and was just out of the game for so long.
He said he got on a scale and it was 235 pounds, and he's not tall whatsoever. I think he's like 5'8", 5'6". So like he was talking about it. He was like, I could go out and do tricks, but it was obvious that I needed to not chill, or I needed to chill out, or I was going to break bones. And that was one of those things where it was like, you could tell that this thing that was always kind of in his back pocket, like skating, just wasn't there anymore.
And that's what's so tragic about this whole thing, you know? Like,
he really was a absolutely great skater in his era that kind of gets brushed under the rug of him being like this personality.
Yeah, it's sad. Like, that's the only thing I can talk about, or only word I can use to refer to as like post maybe Jackass and then the Jackass sequel life, you know?
Well, you go through his skating clips, and I'll say it again.
They're awesome.
That backside tail slide is so unbelievable. He clears the love gap, which they don't have anymore. That's when it was that love sign.
Yeah.
The Beatles thing that they used to have in Philadelphia, and they used to, so like, it was this thing where it had to have rained, and they clear out the what is that? The fountain, and you're allowed to like jump it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. He did a loop, so like only a few guys have done a loop, like Tony Hawk, where they go and they do like a full whoop.
Yeah.
Like shit like that, where it's not tricks in skateboarding, but it's like the hardcore of skateboarding. He'll always be that kind of guy, and we might have missed out on what was more, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said at the very beginning, if he had just gone with Tony Hawk and done that instead of the Jackass stuff, which I'm not saying it's still a personal choice to put whatever you want in your body, but I mean, it certainly didn't help him.
No, and just the lack of being able to stick to rehab. If I felt like if he got it early on, it would have been a lot better.
Or he got it early on. It just, he had to stay there.
It had to stick, and that was what the Jackass guys said. Was he came back like, they kicked him off and he came back and he's like, no, I'm sober. And Steve-O was just like, yeah, but there was alcohol right here. You'd tank it. This is the problem, is this personality that you have exuding is really messing with all of us. And it almost tanked this, franchise movie.
Yeah, right. And who knows? They'll be doing this probably into their 80s if they end up living there.
I hope not.
I don't know. Doing the shopping cart.
The shopping cart. Yeah, I guess there's
electric scooter.
Yeah, a new run of them. But yeah. All right. Bam Margera.